This is a best syndication feature video, The Road to War with Iraq, Part 2, Sunday, May 27, 2000. In a meeting, one day after the 2001 terror attack on the World Trade Center, the White House was considering invading Iraq and not Afghanistan. According to Richard Clarke, who was at that meeting, Donald Rumsfeld was saying that we needed to bomb Iraq. Clarke said that the CIA, the FBI, and himself were all saying, no, Al-Qaeda is in Afghanistan. We need to bomb Afghanistan. Since there was little or no evidence that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, sometimes called WMD, and there was no ties between Saddam and the terror attacks on September 11, 2001, some in the Bush administration began to look for that evidence. This segment will explain how people with an agenda can get so much wrong. The intelligence agencies were not giving the White House the answers they were looking for to back up a war against Saddam Hussein. In August of 2002, Douglas Feith, Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, condemned the CIA's intelligence assessment techniques and criticized the CIA's consistent underestimation of matters dealing with the alleged Iraq Al-Qaeda cooperation. In September 2002, Paul Wolfowitz and Feith opened a special office inside the Pentagon to sift through unverified intelligence reports. The newly formed department in the Pentagon, called the Office of Special Plans, or OSP for short, found evidence that Saddam was attempting to purchase yellowcake uranium from Niger, aluminum tubes from Asia, had mobile weapons laboratories, and had been meeting with representatives from Al-Qaeda. These findings were all proven wrong. Since the yellowcake uranium invoice was proven to be a forgery, the aluminum tubes were likely purchased for conventional weapons or some other use. The Bush administration knew that they needed some compelling evidence to convince the American people that Saddam was a threat. The President began to make the case for war in his January 28, 2003 State of the Union address. The President said, "The British government has learned that Saddam Hussein recently sought significant quantities of uranium from Africa. Our intelligence sources tell us that he has attempted to purchase high-strength aluminum tubes suitable for nuclear weapons production." The President went on to say that Saddam Hussein has not credibly explained these activities. He clearly has much to hide. The President did not mention that the Department of Energy's, the DOE, expert analysts had determined that the tubes were not suitable for nuclear weapons programs. Secretary of State Colin Powell presented the evidence compiled by the Office of Special Plans to the United Nations on February 5, 2003. Powell mentioned that based on defective information in May of 1991, Saddam Hussein's lie was exposed. In truth, Saddam Hussein had a massive clandestine nuclear weapons program that covered several different techniques to enrich uranium, including electromagnetic isotope separation, gas centrifuge, and gas diffusion. We estimate that this illicit program cost the Iraqis several $billions, Powell said. The Office of Special Plans interviewed members of an exiled group called the Iraqi National Congress, INC for short, led in part by Ahmed Shalabi. The INC passed along false information to the investigators from the Office of Special Plans. Later, Shalabi shrugged off charges to the UK Telegraph that he had deliberately misled U.S. intelligence. "We are the heroes in error," he told the Telegraph in Baghdad. He went on to say that as far as we're concerned, we, referring to the INC, have been entirely successful. The tyrant Saddam is gone and the Americans are in Baghdad. The group also coached an Iraqi defector living in Germany who claimed that Saddam had mobile weapons laboratories. The informant, codenamed Curveball, was the brother of a top lieutenant of Chalabi. Although American intelligence never met with Curveball, the Germans passed the claim along with a warning. The Germans warned that Curveball was fabricating claims. Later, Curveball admitted that he had lied in order to stay in Germany. The claim that one of the September 11th hijackers, Mohammed Atta, met with a member of the Iraqi consulate, Ahmad Samir al-Ani, in April 2001 has been discredited as well. Even Vice President Dick Cheney now does not believe the meeting took place. In an interview with Tim Russert on March 29, 2006, Cheney said, "Later on, they," referring to the CIA, "were unable to confirm it. Later on, they backed off of it." The United States invaded Iraq in March of 2003. Much of the evidence used as justification of the war was not verified by the U.S. intelligence agencies. But how did the faulty evidence get into the National Intelligence Estimate before the war? NIEs are considered the gold standard for intelligence reports. Here's what happened. Before the October 2002 National Intelligence Estimate titled Iraq's Continuing Program of Weapons of Mass Destruction, various senators and congressmen had suspicions about the evidence that Saddam had connections to Al-Qaeda and was pursuing a WMD program. Bob Graham, the Florida Democrat who chaired the Senate Intelligence Committee, had seen nothing in the CIA's classified report that established a link between Saddam and Al-Qaeda. They had actually seen the classified documents, and the evidence did not support the claims. Before they voted to authorize the use of force against Saddam, Graham and other senators asked the CIA Director George Tenet to produce a national intelligence estimate concerning Iraq's threat. The bogus information gathered by the Office of Special Plans was included in that report, which was hastily prepared in just 2 or 3 weeks. It can sometimes take a year or longer to verify claims that go into a national intelligence estimate, but obviously the claims in this estimate were less than accurate. Graham later said that the first classified estimate gave approximations for accuracy. For instance, the claim has a 45% chance of being accurate. The senator wanted declassified versions to show the American people. 3 days later, a white paper was produced, which left out the accuracy estimates. The declassified version also left out a key judgment that Saddam was not a threat to the U.S. Graham told the PBS news show Frontline, "I was incensed at that point that the American people were being told one thing, and we, in a classified situation, who were prohibited from saying anything about it, were being told a significantly different assessment of how sure we were of Saddam Hussein's capabilities and particularly his intentions." In the first report, Graham continued, there was a statement that said Saddam Hussein would not use any weapons of mass destruction which he had unless he was first attacked. What does that say? If you don't attack him, even if he has them, our best assessment is that he won't use them. That statement of intention was left out of the version that went to the American people. So does Graham think that the administration had an agenda and used intelligence gathered by various agencies to filter the evidence to make their case? Graham said, "Well, it says to me that the decision had been made that we were going to war with Iraq. All of this other talk was just window dressing, and that the intelligence community was being used as almost a public relations operation to validate the war against Saddam Hussein." This was part 2 of a best syndication feature video, The Road to War with Iraq. For this and more stories, visit bestsyndication.com.